A delegation from the Dem Party has concluded talks with Kurdish leaders in the Kurdistan region to discuss national unity and peace efforts, and Abdullah Öcalan will be informed about the talks. In a powerful demonstration of resistance, Turkey's elected officials and citizens gather in Ankara, demanding an end to the government's trustee rule. TÜSİAD executives Orhan Turan and Ömer Arif Aras were placed under judicial supervision following an investigation into their remarks on Turkey's political and economic issues, with President Erdoğan calling their statements a provocation. At the People's Platform Europe conference in Vienna, activists discussed grassroots autonomy, self-sufficiency, and redistributing resources to strengthen movements across Europe. Learn more with Medya News.
Başka detaylar da var. Bunu Sayın Öcalan'a ziyaretimizde ileteceğiz.
A delegation from the pro-Kurdish People's Equality and Democracy or DEM party has completed its meetings with key political figures in the Kurdistan region.
Onların da sürece dair önerilerini, uyarılarını ve desteklerini aldık. Bunlar bizim için ve barış için çok kıymetliydi.
The delegation, which included members of the İmralı delegation and lawyers, met with KDP leader Masoud Barzani, president of the Kurdistan region Nechirvan Barzani, PUK leader Bafıl Talabani, and KRG Prime Minister Masroor Barzani.
Ağırlıklı olarak Sayın Öcalan'ın yaptığı değerlendirmeleri aktardık. Sorduğu soruları ilettik, onlara cevap oluşturmaya çalıştık.
Siri Sir Ray Ay. Onda described the talks as positive, saying that they conveyed Abdullah Öcalan's assessments and questions with national unity among the key issues discussed. He stressed the need to create a broad social base for peace efforts and confirmed that Öcalan would be informed about the discussions.
Fakat bununla beraber bir ulusal birlik meselesi de konuşulan meseleler arasındaydı. Barışa dönük olabilecek en geniş toplumsal zemini oluşturmaya çalıştık.
Meanwhile, Turkish Justice Minister Yilmaz Tunç, commenting on a possible visit to Öcalan, said that any request would be examined and permission could be granted if deemed appropriate.
Yeni bir başvuru söz konusu olursa bunu da tabii ki değerlendirip bu konudaki izni sağlarız.
The delegation's visit focused on peace efforts and gathering perspectives from Kurdish political figures. On 19th February, pro-Kurdish opposition leaders Tülay Hati Moğu and Tuncer Bakirhan, co-chairs of the People's Equality and Democracy or DEM party, led a large protest in Ankara to denounce the Turkish government's decision to appoint trustees to Kurdish-majority municipalities, including Van. The protest was a direct challenge to the government's ongoing efforts to suppress Kurdish political representation through trustee appointments. Hati Moğu, speaking at the protest, rejected the move as an attack on democracy and self-governance, calling it part of a broader strategy to undermine the Kurdish community's right to govern itself.
Bu iktidar askeri vesayet rejiminden kurtulacağız diye geldi. Ama bu iktidar askeri vesayet rejiminden bırakın kurtula dursun, kendi vesayet rejimlerini kurdular. Siz zaten Kürdü asli yurttaş görmüyorsunuz. Kürdü asla ve asla kendini yönetebilir, seçebilir, seçilebilir olarak görmüyorsunuz. Ama aynı zamanda Kürdü hizmet edilmez olarak da görüyorsunuz.
Bakirhan echoed these sentiments, describing the actions as a political conspiracy and a threat to democracy. He called on the government to respect the will of the people, denouncing the actions as an unlawful act and a coup.
Bu hırsızlığı yapan bu hükümeti bir kez daha uyarıyoruz. Halkın iradesini çalmaktan vazgeçin. Halkın iradesine saygı duyun. Bu hırsızlığınızla devam ederseniz önümüz dönem kurulacak sandıklarda tabela partisi olmaya Artık razı olun.
The protest also emphasized the continued struggle for peace and democracy in Turkey, with both leaders reaffirming their commitment to advocating for peace despite the challenges and repression faced by the Kurdish political movement. Sezai Temeli, a Dem Party deputy, also raised the issue in the Turkish parliament, highlighting the undemocratic nature of the trustee system. He compared the government's actions to a coup, criticizing the way the system undermines Kurdish self-governance and democratic representation. TÜSİAD, or Turkish Industrialists and Businessmen's Association executives Orhan Turan and Ömer Arif Aras were released under judicial supervision after an investigation into their criticism of government policies, including trustee appointments and inflation. The investigation followed strong criticism from President Erdoğan, who condemned their remarks as a provocation during a 19th of February meeting of the Justice and Development Party. At TÜSİAD's 13th of February General Assembly, Aras and Turan raised concerns about various political and economic issues. Aras mentioned the removal of elected mayors, the appointment of trustees, and systemic failures, while Turan criticized the government's economic policies, including issues related to corruption, fraud, and lack of regulatory oversight. In response, Erdoğan condemned TÜSİAD's actions as a provocation and declared that such behavior would not be tolerated. He warned TÜSİAD to learn its place and called it to act in line with its role as a business association, not a political entity. The investigation into Turan and Aras caused a drop in the Istanbul Stock Exchange. Despite the pressure, TÜSİAD defended its position, asserting its responsibility to contribute to the country's progress and promote democratic dialogue. Here is a part of the speech of Orhan Turan, president of TÜSİAD, regarding these developments.
We are losing many of our citizens to earthquakes, fires, and workplace accidents. This shows that errors, abuses, and favoritism are very widespread. Investigations against critical statements and journalistic activities have become very frequent. New investigations are being opened into events that took place more than 10 years ago. New arrests are constantly being made of detained MPs, party leaders, and mayors. Lieutenants are being dismissed for disciplinary offenses. However, in many cases that have caused public outrage, such as earthquakes, fire hazards, femicides, workplace accidents, the perpetrators are either not found or are released shortly afterwards. A sense of disproportion between crime and punishment is developing in the public conscience. We are witnessing new examples of public officials, whether elected or appointed, being removed from office. Furthermore, new legislation has made it possible for public officials to be removed from office by the State Audit Council and for the Savings Deposit Insurance Fund, TMSF, to appoint trustees to companies. The news about corruption, fraud, and the black market is endless. It is now probably easier to set up a criminal organization than a company. There seems to be no end in sight to femicide and child abuse. What is this escalation? Why have we reached this point?
Lila Athanasiadou, a participant from the Dutch tenants union BPW based in Rotterdam, shared her reasons for joining the People's Platform Europe conference held in Vienna, Austria, from the 14th to the 16th of February. Athanasiadou spoke about her experiences and the insights she gained from discussions on self-sovereignty and autonomy. The event, under the slogan Reclaim the Initiative, brought together over 800 delegates from 160 organizations across more than 30 European countries to explore grassroots solutions to global crises. The event, under the slogan Reclaim the Initiative, brought together over 800 delegates from 160 organizations across more than 30 European countries to explore grassroots solutions to global crises.
I came because basically as an organization we are trying to not depend on structures that oppress us, and this is getting more difficult in Northern Europe. So yeah, that was the goal. That's why I joined the autonomy workshop.
Okay, thanks a lot. And During the workshop, what did you discuss about and what kind of results came out of the workshop?
We discussed about a lot of things. Also, there was so much knowledge from groups that had experiences with food sovereignty, with housing, with neighborhood organizing, giving shelters, providing to direct needs, or also creating safer spaces for Flinta people and feminist organizations. So the discussions were a lot. I joined the group of self-sufficiency specifically, and one of the things that came about was that basically we all live with certain contradictions, and especially, I mean, there are contradictions all over Europe, but especially in the common struggle also in Northern Europe, we have to live with certain contradictions. Like they're up to a certain part, we are dependent on certain structures of the state, etc. And then the idea is not to lose the aim, that is to create actual self-sufficiency and exploit also this contradiction. So we also talked about that we have a lot of professional network in Northern Europe, especially when it comes to legal support, etc., and access to funding. How can we redistribute both the knowledge, the professional network, and the funding to other places, in other places of Europe? And another thing that I took from the workshop is like we seem to struggle a lot with how to like create community, but then there is a history of community building, and there's a revolutionary history in every place in Europe. You just have to kind of go back maybe like 20, 30 years to find it. And I think this is also a way that you can like recreate community by sharing the revolutionary histories of the territories.